Hello everyone, welcome back to the Heffy Doodle channel. I'm so excited to be here with another fun project. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Steph Williams. I'm a paper crafter and card maker from Queensland, Australia, and today I'm going to show you how to make your own custom shaker pieces with shrink plastic. So today I'm using the special delivery stamp set and matching dies, the new arrival sentiment stamp set, and these shaker tag dies. I'm going to cut the tag with the window out of some cute pattern paper and then use the other tag die to cut some plain white cardstock for my backgrounds. And of course I'm going to be cutting these with my mini die cut machine by Heffy Doodle. I just love this little machine. It is so cute and it is so awesome that it sits on my desk and it can cut out all my little stamped images and dies as big as these ones. For this project today, I am making 3 tags that are very similar except for a few minor details, so you'll only see me really making one as we go along, but I've made a few others just so that you can get a feel for all the different colours and combinations you can use to make these. So here I have my tag with the window and the one on the back just so that you can see how these are going to line up. Now I did place both of these on my stamping platform held down with my magnets so that I can line up where my sentiment is going to go and I can make sure it's visible through the window and that none of it is going to be too big or hidden behind that frame. So for my yellow one I'm going with welcome little one. I figured yellow would be really cute. I'm going for a mix of I guess traditional baby colours and a neutral one as well. So for the blue one, I've gone with It's a Boy and I've lined it up in the center here. And then of course for the pink one, I've gone with It's a Girl. I could have just made one tag to show what I could do with these, but these sentiments were so much fun to play with and they were so cute. And honestly, I just wanted to use a whole bunch of these cute stamps and to use as many of those stalks as I could. And speaking of stalks, here they are in the special delivery stamp set. I wish I had made more so that I could use all of them, but I'm just settling on 3 today. And along with these 3, I'm going to stamp this little bag 3 times as well. And so here they are, all stamped out and ready to colour. I am going to colour these in very simply. I didn't want to go adding too much colour to these, as they're going to be paired with pink, blue and yellow. So what I've done is gone for some very simple and neutral greys to colour in bits of their wings. I'm using the palest grey I have just to add a bit of shadow on my white bird. And these little bags that they're carrying, I did use some brown on them. Looking at these stamps and seeing how delicate those little birdie legs are, I'm really glad that I did grab the matching dies for this set. A lot of the time, if I can fussy cut, I tend not to grab matching dies, but these characters in particular, much like the frogs I used in the last video I did for Heffy Doodle, have delicate little limbs, and so the matching dies really do cut these out perfectly. Once I was done colouring in with my Copic markers, I then come in with a white Jelly Roll pen, and this is just something that I do with all of my stamped images. I do keep my colouring very simple, and so there's really not a lot of dimension coming from that, but I find adding these little white highlights really makes things pop and brightens up the images a little bit. Back to my favourite little die cut machine. I did have to trim this out just a little bit so that things would fit, and I am using some of my Heffy Doodle memo tape here to gently hold these little dies into place. And as you can see, these get cut out absolutely perfectly. Now I thought regular shaker tags would be really cute for this, but then I thought why not go one step further and make shrink plastic shaker elements to go in this. I love this technique because it means you can literally customize any shaker card that you make with images that go with the stamp sets that you're using, or with anything really. So this baby bottle, present and rattle, they're all from the special delivery stamp set. And I thought they would look really cute. I know they're already small, but if I shrunk them down even further to make tiny little pieces to rattle around in my shakers. This technique is super simple and very effective. I find it's one of my favorite techniques to make with shaker cards. So what I'm doing here is using a black StazOn ink. And I will warn you, if you do choose to do this, it will likely stain your stamps. I have learned over the years to cope with that fact, but I know for some it might be a bit much to see your stamp stained. I believe there is a solution that StazOn have that can clean these up, but I don't own it. It has never affected my stamping ability after using them. They just have black ink on them. And so what I've done after that is run these through my little die cut machine, because shrink plastic surprisingly takes very well to being put through a die cut machine. And I'm grateful too, because all of these are really little, and I find if I'm using scissors to cut out my images with shrink plastic, sometimes it gets a bit of discoloration when you maybe turn a corner too sharp and your scissors get caught. It tends to whiten up the plastic. I'm not sure if that makes any sense. I can't show you because I didn't have that problem with using the dies and the die cut machine. So on to my favourite part, and I hope I don't drive you bananas while you watch this as much as I drive myself a bit bananas when I'm doing this. You will see the little images fly around this plate a lot, and that is because you can't really hold them down too hard. You don't want them to warp or to shrink unevenly. So I'm only very gently holding these into place while the heat gun does its work. And this heat gun is my embossing heat gun, so if you're a crafter and you love embossing, you probably already have the tools to do this. I do also recommend using a pair of heat-resistant tweezers, because if you're doing as many pieces as I've done today, they can get quite hot and the heat can travel up to your hand. But as you can see, these are turning out absolutely adorable. They shrink down so small, but keep all of that detail. When I've done this in the past, I often get asked what side do I colour in on and what do I colour with. So I do use my Copic markers, and I do tend to go for the lighter ones, because once they shrink down, the colour of your markers does tend to darken a little bit. And I always colour on the opposite side to where I have used my StazOn ink. That ink is the only ink I have ever found to dry on shrink plastic, but it does remain slightly sticky, and my Copics kind of stick to it a little bit if I'm colouring on the same side. As you can see, we are getting quite the collection of adorable little pieces here. These little bottles just shrink down so much. But as I'm hoping you'll see in the photos at the very end of this video, that these hold all of their detail. And they just look so cute in these shakers. Oh my gosh, look at them. A whole handful of adorable little pieces. Now with some clear acetate or window sheet, I'm going to trim down some pieces that will stick behind this window. And I've just used my tape runner here, and I'm going to adhere them. And then that is what creates the piece that will hold in all our shaker pieces. But we need some room for them to be able to shake. So I'm going to use the Heffy Doodle foam strips for this. These are such a fantastic thickness. They allow for so much movement in the shaker projects that I have made so far. So what I'm doing here is just lining up along the edge of the frame, not too close. I don't want it to be visible from the inside, but it is so nice and thin that it fits with a nice border of that cardstock all the way around. I'm being really careful here just to make sure there are no gaps, because the pieces we are working with today are very tiny and I don't want any of them to escape. And as I mentioned before, this process is the same for all three cards, so I'm not going to show this foam prep on all three of them. There we have it, a safe little place for our shaker pieces. Once these are ready to go, I'm going to run my anti-static powder all the way around the edges. This just ensures that none of the foam tape stickiness is going to be anywhere near my shaker pieces, so that they don't get stuck on the sides. I often run just a little bit of that over the acetate as well, as I find acetate holds static That might just be because I live in a humid Queensland, but I do find that it helps in the long run to make sure all these pieces move smoothly. From my Truly Outrageous and Pride Sparkle mixes, I'm just going to select a few little sparkly gems and sequins that will best go with the colours for these tags. So as you can see here, I'm just adding a few of those little gems and I'm going to stick them down into place. This tag has plenty of room for everything else to move, but when it's sitting upright, all those pieces do fall down to the bottom. So I really like to have just a couple set up around the sentiment so that it always looks like there's something pretty to look at. Once that's dry and these are ready to assemble, I remove the backing to my foam tape and very carefully lay it over that base piece, ensuring that all of my little shaker pieces are facing the right way up, as they won't have the room to flip over. They're quite thick once they shrink down to that size. Now I'm going to do something here that borderline feels illegal when I'm working with these adorable stamps, and that is trim off this cute little guy's legs so that he fits well onto this tag. I'm glad that with the other two I could angle them in ways where I wouldn't have to trim them. There's just something that feels so wrong about chopping up these adorable little images. But I'm sure you'll agree he looks very cute in that position. With some matching twine for each of these tags, I cut just enough to create a little bow, and what I'm doing here is running some PVA glue over the edges just to seal them up so that they won't fray over time. It kind of makes them like a little shoelace. And once that's dry, I then tie these little bows, and our sweet little shaker tags are ready to shake. Hang around for some more detailed photos and let me know in the comments which one of these turned out to be your favourite. I'd also love to know, have you ever used this technique before? And if not, will you do it now? I'd love to see what you come up with. Thank you so much for joining me for my second Heffy Doodle video. I'll be back next month with another fun project to share with you. You can find more details and photos of this project on the Heffy Doodle blog. Until next time, bye for now.